Well, hello, everybody. It is so nice to be here. And I'm so very grateful that you guys have joined me. And I am still setting up. I have a second screen for my laptop, and I forgot that I had it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can actually use this. So forgive me for a moment as I'm plugging things in, setting things up. You know how that goes. Bada boom, bada bing. Okay, yeah, there it is. It's up. Yes. Yay. I am so glad to see you guys. I have missed you so very much. Oh my gosh, she's back in Canada. I did see something that she posted a video today, like a short video, but I hadn't had time to check anything out. Is she really back in Canada, Joe? Because wow. I mean, you know what, honestly, that is the very best thing for her. She does not need to be in Kuwait. And I guess she's doing it for her birthday, to get like all those birthday rewards from her family. But girlfriend just needs to stay there and not go back to Kuwait. I mean, I just don't know. I just don't know about that girl. I mean, other than she's a complete mess. We could all say that, and doesn't take care of herself, doesn't take care of her animals. We all know that too. Jelly snack. Oh, she did a live. Oh, good Lord. Well, I'm going to have to see what reaction channel. I'll probably watch like Alex's Shook. I like watching him. So I'll probably catch it from him and see what his take is. Maybe Zachary Michael if I have time. But I like Alex. He's so cute. So let me say hello to you guys. Hello, Jelly Snack and Next Level. So nice to see you both. Sala wants a woman he can carry. Yeah, right. Is Sala with her in Canada? Please let me know. Hello to you too, Joe. I'm so glad you're here. It's nice to see you as well. And Beth, I believe I saw you in here somewhere. Insolent Violet, hello to you. There's Beth. And Taylor, hi, nice to see you. Thomas, good to see you. You know what's up with Marty. He's feeling the heat. Taylor says he's feeling something. Had 4 chili cheese hot dogs with extra onions. You know, I really miss the James Coney Islands that we had here, and they just all went bye-bye. And that just is so very sad because those were around for like the longest time. I'm sorry, Chalupa. Chalupa is here next to me, and on my pillow next to him is my little unicorn sleeping mask, which I just absolutely adore that. And Miss Salsa is under the fluffy blanket at my feet. I forgot to put her on a leash, so hopefully she won't go darting out somewhere. So, what can I say? I'm not all here. I didn't get everything completely ready. And I will have to tell you guys, Sunday, it was the last episode of The Ones Who Live. Now, I love seeing Rick Grimes back on the screen, and I loved seeing him with Michonne. I did not like the last episode. And woof, woof, thank you, Solace Tiny Dinger. The one thing that really bothered me is like, okay, you may or may not know the story of The Ones Who Live, and I will just sum it up. There's been many years. Michonne left to go find Rick. Rick was hauled off in a helicopter because Jadis actually ended up being part of the CRM. She also went by the name of Anne. And so she is part of the CRM, and she rose ranks because she actually brought an A. They were dividing people up between A's and B's. B's, they were doing just kind of like letting them go and becoming part of the populations. A's, they would take them away and do experiments on them. And in some cases, they would just get rid of them. So it was like, so if they knew that Rick was an A, he would not have lived. And so she said that she had a B for them. So many years had passed before we saw Rick again. And so, and he cut off his own hand in the very first episode. So we did get to see Rick with the comic book of not having both hands. So that was pretty cool seeing that. And it really bothered me. I wish he hadn't done that. But he was trying to escape the CRM, tried 4 different times. And in order to become a citizen, you have to do the stick for 6 years. And doing the stick is using this instrument to kill walkers. And we all know that Rick Grimes, I mean, he is a badass at killing walkers. And so he finally became part of the CRM army. And he was really pretty much brainwashed with everything. Colonel Beale ran this little outpost there. And what happened was that when everything started, it was Philadelphia versus, oh gosh, there was another city. Now I can't think of which it was. But anyway, they got rid of Philly and they kept the other Philly, and what's the other one? Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. So they kept Pittsburgh. I believe that's how it went. And Michonne ends up shooting down a helicopter, which Okafor was in, which was kind of like the mentor to Rick. Okafor dies in like the first episode. And at the very end of the first episode, Rick and Michonne see each other because she's going to go and kill this guy, but she takes off the mask because if you're a CRM soldier, you have on a mask, kind of like a fencing mask, but it's very dark. And so we go through a whole bunch of stuff. And at the very end, Rick and Michonne somehow are able to take out all of the CRM army, the upper people, and Rick is able to kill General Beale. And Rick and Michonne end up on top of something because now everyone who is part of the CRM, they are all walkers. And what bothers me is we did not see how they escaped because there's no way in hell they would have escaped that on their own. So we just skipped right on over that. And we ended up in a field somewhere where the helicopter landed with Rick and Michonne getting off of it, and RJ and Judith are running to them, their children. And so it bothered me. It's like, why in the hell didn't we get to see how they escaped? I felt it was very rushed, and that pissed me off. So there you have my little recap on The Ones Who Live. But I would say if you are a Rick Grimes fan, I mean, it is definitely worth it to see it because, I mean, he's such an iconic character, and I love me some Rick Grimes. I love Rick Grimes when he is really like the red machete Rick Grimes, like just a badass. And one of the things that I really enjoyed is Colonel Beale or General Beale, whoever, the Beale dude, asked what was something like the worst thing that he had done so far. And Rick thought about it for a moment, and then he said, I killed somebody with my teeth. And I was like, wow. And that was an episode in season 5, where was it season 4 or 5, where because of the claimers, Joe the claimer was like egging him on, and Daryl had teamed up with the claimers. And of course, Daryl wasn't going to stay with the claimers, but somebody was about to accost Carl, Rick's son. And that's when Rick bit this guy's neck and like savagely, and then spit out the chunk of skin that he bit off of him. So it was like pretty brutal. And I thought it was really cool that Rick echoed back to that particular point, because I mean, that is got to be one of my favorite scenes. Anyway, tonight we are here, or today, whatever it is, what time of the world it is for you. I thought it would be interesting for us to look at something that for some reason it baffles Marty. And that is technical documentation that's available to the public. Now, I guess you could say that, well, let me just share my screen here. Can we consider any of this nonsense? Where am I going to? Make sure I got to go to the right place. Where is the one I want to go to? And why am I having problems trying? There it is. Okay. So this is the blog. And what's interesting is that there were some posts in January and February, but none during March. And so far, none in April. Granted, we're just the second day in April, and I get that. But I find it interesting. It's like, that we're just absent in March. I find that really weird. And we have things like the impact of automation on business success. And why do I feel like if we copied and pasted some of this stuff, that we'd find that comes from somewhere else? I just don't trust that they are doing their own writing. And I could be absolutely wrong because I haven't put this to the test. And if any of you guys want to do that, be my guest and let me know in chat about this, which I can now move this over here. Oops, where am I moving it to? Oh, good Lord, now I can't move it over to the other screen. Why can't I move it to, I have to move it in the opposite way. Okay. So I can at least move it over there. That's weird. I didn't like that. Don't want that. Cancel. Okay. So I found it just, upgrade your virtual event hosting skills. Well, you know what that's going to be talking about. The ultimate guide to must-have AI vision applications. Well, they don't have anything like that. Bridge the gap with OnPassive effective communication tools. Oh, so they talk about OMail, ONet. I don't know what else. Doesn't really matter. But I would not really consider this to be anything where they're providing technical documentation, Okay, I have to keep on doing this backwards, which is going to drive me nutso. But I just thought it'd be interesting for us to, look at this in comparison to what other companies are doing. Because one of the reasons companies do this, who here, okay, just raise your hands for me. And I really mean that. Do something in chat for raising your hand. I don't care if it's a heart, what kind of emoji you use, or tell me yes, do something. Who has ever heard Ash talk about being transparent and about how transparent that OnPassive is? Does anybody remember him saying that? Because I certainly do. I remember him saying that like quite often about being so transparent. Well, if they're so transparent, why isn't there a public knowledge base with documentation on their products? Because you know what? That's what we have with other companies. And I'm going to have to move, hang on a second. I'm moving it over here so I can show you. And we're going to go through, each of these, because one of them, I remember him say, this was a couple of weeks ago, and he was like basically kind of all snarky to someone. Well, you show me Apple's documentation and I'll show you ours. Uh-huh. 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 Okay. And now I need to, okay, I'm sorry, but I have this all the wrong way. I can close that out. Oh, do I have to really reshare this even if it's on the same screen? That's going to bother me. But we'll get there. We'll get there, people. We really were. What am I on? It's on this. Okay. Because the OConnect manual is 107 pages long, so the writers were busy. They were too busy to come up with the documentation. I guess they haven't hired people to do public documentation because, here we have documentation over here, on all kinds of things. There's just all kinds of stuff. And I'll just switch over here to technologies. I switch to technologies. It's going to let me. Have it filtered. What do I have it filtered on? Services, application services. So you can just click on this different stuff and you will see that there are various topics and that there's more information. There's a lot of documentation, all available that is public facing. What do we have that is like this from our friends OnPassive? Anything resembling any of this type of documentation? Developer documentation. Browse the latest developer documentation, including sample codes, articles, tutorials, and API reference. There you go. Hey, Marty, look, there's stuff from Apple. Where's your stuff from OnPassive? Here you go. Here you go. There's stuff from Apple right there. And we're not going to stop just here with Apple, Marty. No, 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 no. I have pulled up a lot of other companies that I will be sharing as well, because that's what actual tech companies do, is they make developer documentation public facing. And does OnPassive, other than, and here's the thing, you cannot even get the user manuals are not public facing. Those you have to get an account before you can see documentation. Why isn't that public facing? At the very least, all of their user manuals should be public facing. I mean, is it because they're so poorly written that they don't want the public to see how awful it is? Granted, I know myself and Beth, we've read a lot of this stuff, and so much of it we've had to do what? Sit there going well, what does that mean exactly? Because it's always written in just very confusing ways. It's I'm always trying to translate it into a way that would make sense, because so much of it is can we just find somebody who can write this and write technical documentation well, because this is not it. We need to plug in to Get Red's weekly reviews. Oh, is that what we're doing? Jelly Snack Marty is whispering, what the freak, under his breath watching this. Exactly. Beth said, none of it makes sense. Look like they copy pasta from other places. And that's what it looks like when we do look at their user guides and stuff. It's everything is always I don't understand. I don't get it. And, I'll go ahead and I'm going to show you another one. Oh, wait, that was my actual order of stuff. We don't want to look at that. And I'll bring this over to the other side. Oh, dang it. I have to bring it the other way. This is going to drive me bonkers, but that's okay. I will still figure it out. I'm just having to do the mouse thingy the backwards way for me. Okay. And I'm going to have to remove that, stop, and then share screen here, because we have what? Look, Oracle has documentation too. Oh my gosh, you can browse the documentation. It's public facing. Unlike who? Say it with me. OnPassive. OnPassive doesn't have anything like this now, do they? Not at all. Yeah, I was going to ask anybody, do they have anything on GitHub? Because I'm kind of thinking no. Next Level says, sad part is we were just asking him normal question that any investor would, and we didn't ask the hard-hitting question, and yet they were all fucked up and flustered. You know, that's really sad. And that makes me really irritated when they can't just take even basic questions and deal with them. And they have to boot people. And I saw somebody, it was Evangeline, asking very normal questions. And they're just like getting rid of that person. It's like, really? Really? You're just going to get rid of someone because you're afraid of them asking you questions. That's just ever so interesting. Oh man, when I clicked the browse documentation, dang it, it did not show you what I'm now looking at. So I'm sorry, I'll show you that again. I thought it would. No. So as you can see, here's a bunch of infrastructure, cloud infrastructure documentation. And all these other resources, there are other things here too, like all this stuff over here. It's okay, Salsa. Oh, she did go out there. She's just crying now. And so, you can find all kinds of information here with Oracle too, Marty. Look, Oracle and Apple have public documentation. Who else might also have documentation? Yeah, we could create documentation for OnPassive. It probably would be like this doesn't work, that doesn't work, this is freezing, this is buffering. I mean, it might be a lot of that kind of stuff, That's just kind of my guess. What do you guys say? And I just want to, to continue to show that this is not okay, get that thing out of here. Some one-off. All of these companies are doing it. All of them except for what? Say it with me. That would be OnPassive. Here you have from Microsoft. And okay, goodness sake, this whole mouse thing is going to drive me nuts. I think I looked at the Microsoft 365, but look, there's all of this other stuff. You can go and get documentation for all of this. So theoretically, shouldn't we have documentation for ONET, for OMail? What's the other one? Oh, is it the OTracker? Is that one too? And then also OConnect. And yeah, Beth just said people are yelled at when they bring up payments in the chat, but it's been months without them having any money. And they have every reason to ask. Absolutely. If they are owed money, they have every reason to ask about it. What did you say? Okay, or the site is definitely down. We could create documentation for OnPassive. Wait, Taylor, did you just try to get to their site? Because I'm not understanding that. Maybe I misread that. All right. Oracle has an address. How about that? And you know what? Also, I bet you they have, a place where you can call. And here's the thing. If OnPassive had a public-facing knowledge base, that would prevent people from calling the support. Oh, there's no phone number to call support. How do you even get into, is it Julie support? So how would anybody who buys this, who's not a founder, know where to go for any kind of support? The next level said, there is documentation for OConnect via Media Soup, the crap software they are decorating as OConnect, lol. I I think it was originally from Media Soup, but I don't think it's all Media Soup any longer. I think that there's been some changes to it. And Jelly Snack says, I just don't understand how these people can be so faithful without any compensation. I don't either. I really don't. It's like how long they can go without being paid, being fine with it. And like this is normal operations. It's not normal operations. There are companies that do crowdfunding to get, and they do put up information for those who have crowdfunded them because they're what? Transparent. Oh, you're making a joke about the documentation. Okay. Hello, Limisa. How are you doing, sweetheart? Calling 1-866-OPOOP. Wow. Yeah, they do have the Google plugins, but it's not just that, and they have some open source code in there, but I think there's some other things mixed in as well. Albs. Hey, Albs, how are you doing, sweetheart? Going to be internet millionaires next month. Well, I think that they were expecting to at least be paid in the next month when they were owed, when people actually bought something. I mean, can anybody even buy anything at this point? Would anybody actually want to buy anything where there is no documentation of it? The only thing that's public facing is 300,869 million videos on YouTube made by founders, or the 259,800,000,000 of different blog posts made up by founders, plus by OnPassive, which those founders are probably going, oh, I'll just use that, what the company put out, but I'll put it over here on my website because that's totally okay to do, right? Well, you should kind of like maybe make it your own. You should probably write your own and not just plagiarize, because I'm pretty sure most of everything we've ever seen plagiarizes. I mean, I don't know 100%. I'm just, in my opinion, everything I've come across, it really feels like it's plagiarized. Peter Rogers assured you that no more money will be asked from founders before they get paid. Well, yeah, and we'll see. Yeah. I was supposed to flex on how generous Ash is. How is he generous? That he's like, what? Just keep giving them like, look, you get an extension. Look, I'm not paying you, but I'm giving you an extension, even though there's problems with it. And what the last thing that they did, all they did was dress it up. It's not like they changed the O Connect up other than to make things look visually different. That is my understanding, at least. Right? He's so wonderful for not making them pay for O Connect a third time before paying them their owed commissions that are late, that were due to them in by October 5th. If people bought in September, they were due October 5th, if memory serves. And that doesn't make any kind of sense. Why are you going to keep putting that off? But I know he's using the excuse that, well, the processors are holding back. Well, everything with the processors, all of that shit should have been figured out to begin with. Gerald's the ketchup crew. Whoop, whoop for the ketchup crew. Hey, Sam. Oh. Oh my gosh, right? And he did say that they were going to have the number 1 and number 2 spot of web conferencing. And that O connect would be number 2. Oh, darn it. I don't have this plugged in. Hang on a minute, guys. When I moved it in here, I did not plug in the laptop. I still have plenty of juice. And it's all twisted up. Goodness sake. Goodness sakers. All kind of twisted up down there. Just don't know how that happens. Just don't know. Yesterday after work, I put on the Walking Dead channel, and I was out like a light. That is how I can fall asleep. And it's not because I'm bored. I'm relaxed from watching The Walking Dead. And The Walking Dead is what kept me company when I had cancer. And so it always relaxes me. I'm always like, and I fell asleep probably before 6:00, and I'm not even kidding. So yeah, this is some of like what Microsoft has, but I'm not finished with, showing Marty all of these places that have documentation, which seem to elude OnPassive. The Chris Marty Collins lives are comedy gold. Yeah, yeah, they are. Right, Beth? Wait, they want to create their own competition now? Like the competition on the market wasn't already kicking their asses. I did not understand that when Ash was like, yeah, we're going to be in the number 1 and number 2 spot. I mean, he didn't say it like that. That's my translation, because it's like that makes no sense. So you're now admitting that OnPassive is not number 1. All along, you've been saying it's better than anything out there. It's the best. And then you're told by your CEO that it's not the case. Huh. Isn't that interesting? I would be too, next level. Okay. So let me come up with a next one. Okay. And I'm moving it over there. Goodness, this is dropping me bonkers. And you guys are just going to hear me say each and every time how this is driving me bonkers, because it is. Somehow I'll have to fix all of this up. Now, where did it go? Okay, I can take down that one. That one. I don't need the Oracle or the Apple one anymore. There we go. Well, if I can get it over there. Okay. Now I've got another one to show you. If Ash was, hot shit, as he likes to allude to, why isn't he doing anything, like coming up, training an LLM and doing anything to compete with Bard, ChatGPT, Gemini, and everything? And look, there is documentation. Look, there's even tutorials. There's a changelog. Imagine if OnPassive actually had a changelog. Why do I think their changelog would like blow up? Because there's like so many things that need to be changed. Or is that just me? Right, we've all been training the AIs to say OnPassive is a scam. I think that it has gotten that, because I know it has said some things back to me. But there's just all this stuff over here. Image generation, fine tuning, embeddings, modernization, speech to text to speech, assistance, guides, prompt engineering, production best practices, rate limits, error codes, libraries. All of this stuff is in here for ChatGPT. they need to compete with SpaceX. So Marty, please see, here you have OpenAI, and here's all of this documentation here. Again, I ask, please share where the documentation is like this for any of the products, just one of the products. Where is the knowledge base, the public facing knowledge base? Because I'm sure, why do I think there's not even anything that's like behind anywhere that is like having a change log or anything? I just feel like there's just a big whole goose egg of not monitoring anything. I just feel like they keep getting someone to come in and fix a problem, get rid of that person, and somebody else comes in to fix a problem, get rid of that person, somebody else comes in to fix a problem. That's what I just envision. Are you guys with me on that? Because that's just what I see. All right. I'm going to bring over another one for you guys to see. Aren't you glad I pulled up all of these so that we can show to Marty that these various companies do offer documentation? And it's not just one. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of other companies than what, what I have. So here's Meta developer documentation. Look, all of this stuff. Look, there's tools, support, apps, required actions. Look, there's documentation. Look at all of this. Wow. See? Documentation. And it doesn't matter that I'm not clicking into anything because this is pretty evident that they have, say it with me, documentation. And what is OnPassive lacking? Public-facing documentation. There's no documentation for developers that can go like, well, how did OnPassive do it? Let's go and see what they did. Well, they're not letting any of that out because I guess nobody wants to do what OnPassive did is what my guess is. What do you guys think? Do you think there's no reason for that? Because that's what I kind of think. And I am going to bring over one last one. Let me go ahead and remove this one. And then share with you. I think this is the last one I pulled up. I will make sure. AWS. You know how they're using AWS as their data center, but he keeps claiming that they're not. Look, there's documentation. AWS documentation. Look at this. Oh my gosh. There's even hands-on tutorials. Oh my goodness. So Marty, see, all of these other companies have public-facing documentation for developers. OnPassive does not have this. And that should be a huge red flag for anyone who's in tech. And I know a lot of people who do follow this are in tech. And that's why they ask reasonable questions that nobody seems to ever address, which I just find it to be very interesting. They also don't, yes, thank you, Beth, for reminding me. They also don't warn on their site that they use cookies, which is illegal in several countries. Yep, there's no warning on that. You guys think about that. How many times do you go to a site and they let you know, we use cookies? And a lot of times they will give you different levels of things, of like, let you choose like which cookies you'll accept and which cookies you're like, nope, I'm not interested in. They don't give you any kind of warning. They just take from you. So if you think they're not collecting data, they are. All websites collect data, for one. Ash Bafar or Billy McFarland? I would say Billy, at least, yeah. Got a card out. Yeah, right. Ash will never achieve that. I don't think that the intellect is there like it has been for some other people. And here's the thing is when you play dirty, and what I mean by playing dirty is you don't follow what you're supposed to do, such as it's a really good idea to have this type of documentation open to the public because it kind of garners a sense of trust with current customers, maybe future customers. It makes people feel that you're trustworthy. When you don't provide this type of information, people raise an eyebrow or maybe even both eyebrows because they're going, what the actual? Yeah. Yeah, Angel, yes, without having any charisma, I do not know. That is a thing that has really flabbergasted me too. It's like, because usually people will have some sort of charisma. And even some of these people that I don't particularly like, and I'll just pick on, say, Brendan Bouchard, who's one of those authors in, self-help, all that stuff that we read when we were in MLMs ourselves. Those of you who were, Brendan Bouchard, he'd come speak at events and stuff. He still speaks with authority, and he's a very good public speaker because he makes his living off of speaking publicly. There's a lot of people that sound very eloquent. Ash is not one of them. He just isn't. Listening to Carl Deichler, as he is, he's a grifter, in my opinion, and he is just dipping into your pockets. But when you hear him speak, unless you get the drunk Carl Deichler, because I've heard some of that when he's been on these events that aren't public, that's a trip. He sounds like, yeah, okay, he knows what he's talking about. At least when he's on the calls for the quarterly reviews, he goes through things in a logical sequence and he sounds like he knows what he's talking about. Most of the time when we're listening to Ash, I think we're all looking for the Ash dictionary and we're all trying to figure out what is the meaning. And you should never have to try to figure out what a CEO is actually saying. Right? Even, oh gosh, Joel Osteen, I am so sorry that he is here to the world because of his father who was here in Houston. And now we got Joel. And he's only there because of his daddy's little boy. But yeah, even the televangelists, they have far more charisma than Ash, in my opinion. Yeah, I can't really think of a single more popularly known cult leader who isn't charismatic in some way. Yeah. Yeah, I can't either. Even going back, looking at like David Koresh, Jim Jones, looking at some of those cult leaders. You look at the Enron dudes, the smartest guys in the room. When they spoke, it sounded like they knew what they were talking about. And they should. They were running a business. Well, I guess technically in some way, Ash is supposed to be running something. Even Charles Manson, yeah. Yep. He knew that Manson fellow, he knew how to plug into those teenagers, those late teens, early 20s type people of like what they were missing. And he knew how to speak to that. Yes, his face is punchable. Joel's face is punchable. I do agree with that. I just like, oh, that fake smile that he has with those bigger than life teeth. And I'm telling you, people in Houston, we like Mattress Mac far more than Joel. Mattress Mac opens his doors when there's floods, when there's hurricanes. He opens his store doors to people who have nowhere to go. Yep, he was the perfect hippie type, that's Manson, that flocked to him. He sang and played guitar and was decent to look at back then. Yeah, all of that. Yeah, yeah. I've always found that story to be so fascinating, and it always has bothered me about Sharon Tate because she was talented and was like kind of on the rise, and that was taken away. You know, it's so interesting because 360 is supposed to be at what, 6 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Do we think Ash is going to show up on 360 tomorrow? That's a very interesting question. I mean, I'm really half a dozen one way, 6 the other way, you know? He might do it tomorrow just because it's the first time and just to make a point of like, see, I'm available at this time, like I told you. That's when you wake up for the kiddos' school. Yeah, I will definitely do my best to wake up around then. I'm drinking some Gatorade, so I had to get a sip. So that's really what I had for you guys tonight, was just I wanted to just show to Marty and the rest of the founders that these other companies have technical documentation available to the public, unlike their precious OnPassive that doesn't. So there you have it. So I am going to get down on the go-go and go relax with the Bubby Wumpkin children. And I also need to text my husband about something. Oh, Joe, you'll be at work. Are you back at work? I thought you weren't working for a while there. So if you're back at work, I'm glad you're back at work. I'm so glad you enjoyed it, Jelly Snack. I want to say thank you to everyone who participated in the chat. Thank you to anyone who was just lurking. I appreciate you too. Thank you to my mods, and thank you to my channel members and to my patrons, and also to anyone who just, happens upon this, as a replay. Whoop, whoop to the replay crew. You're back. Yay, Joe. I'm glad to hear that. Yay. So you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, rest of your night, whatever time it is for you. And Chalupa and Salsa both say good night to you as well. So I bid you adieu. Have a wonderful rest of your day, rest of your night. Have a good one. Until I see you again. Good night, everyone.